Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video we will be discussing the 2024 Democratic primary and ranking the candidates. So first, I don't see Joe Biden on this list right here. We have a number of candidates, but Joe Biden's not here. To make it clear, Joe Biden is among the Democrats' best candidates for 2024. He'd go in the great category. Just to put that out there for many reasons, the least of which is incumbency. Plus, he's relatively popular. I mean, I think he has a net 18% approval. So obviously, that's kind of the honeymoon. So he's still gonna he'll lose popularity over time, but he's still their best candidate for 2024 without a doubt. So now we're going to get into it and just start ranking these candidates. So first we have the governor of Washington. This is Governor Jay Inslee. He's below average. I don't think he doesn't really have any scandals. He's not wildly disliked by any group, but he's still a boring. I mean, I hate to say this because it makes me sound biased, but he's a boring guy from Washington that does not have a ton of name recognition, and that can help you. Being boring is, I think, boring politicians are better than politicians who are crazy and have a ton of scandals, but he still doesn't have a ton of name recognition. I don't see him getting out of a primary. He ran in 2020, and he didn't do that well. He was polling at under 1%, so he would definitely not win the primary. But even if he somehow got the nomination, it'd be interesting to see how well he'd do. He probably wouldn't fare too well in the Rust Belt. He's kind of a one issue, or I guess the political equivalent of a one-trick pony, in that he can his main issue that he resonates with voters with is climate change. So yeah. Now Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, most of you know where I stand on her. I don't think she's a good candidate at all. I don't think she doesn't have a legislative record to campaign on, and for that reason, I'm gonna say that he's gonna probably she's gonna probably not run in 2024. If she does, I think she could win the primary because she has name recognition, and she would definitely win over the progressive base, but she does not have working class appeal like Bernie Sanders did, so I think she's weaker than Sanders, and I still think Sanders would have lost to Trump. Tulsi Gabbard, she's a good candidate. Now, she actually has a lot of upside because she has appeal to Trumpian. Her and Andrew Yang have significant Trumpian appeal, so I think that could be interesting to see how they could fare against these other candidates, but we're still talking about someone who's disliked by a lot of moderate Democrats. So for that reason, I'm going to put her in the good, not great tier. Stacey Abrams is another good candidate. She's from Georgia. She doesn't have great Rust Belt appeal, so that would hurt her. But she essentially turned Georgia blue. So she has great Sun Belt appeal. She'd do great with Black Current, and I think that even if she did not do well in the Rust Belt, she might lose Wisconsin, but I think she could hold Michigan, Pennsylvania, then hold Georgia, and potentially flip North Carolina. So I think she could do well enough, and I think she is a good candidate for the Democrats in 2024. Now, moving on to Cory Booker, I think he's kind of average below average. He did run in 2020. He's a senator from New Jersey, but he doesn't have he's a good debater. He kind of speaks like Obama, which obviously very good for the Democrats, but he doesn't really have a legislative agenda to campaign on. It's kind of like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I just don't see him exciting the base enough to do well. This is Adam Schiff, I believe. If it's not, this is going to be really embarrassing. But I think that's Adam Schiff, right? Right, guys? That's Adam Schiff. Okay, just Google Adam Schiff, and yes, it is Adam Schiff. So, anyways, Adam Schiff, yeah, he's definitely a bad candidate. I'm actually going to put him in terrible because he's an establishment Democrat from Southern California who's well known, kind of. He's kind of like Maxine Waters. He's not as old, but he just was a big player in the first Trump impeachment process, and he just really was not well liked by the majority of his constituents. So he also comes from a safety district, so he doesn't really have any appeal to anyone outside his district. He's bad with the Rust Belt. He wouldn't do great in the Sun Belt, so don't see him doing well. However, Amy Klobuchar is a great candidate for the Democrats in 2024. I don't think most of these people aren't going to run. But Klobuchar, she, I'll admit my biases here. I'm a big fan of Amy Klobuchar. Obviously, as a more independent, centrist type Democrat, I do really like Klobuchar. Now, she does have her issues. I'm not pretending I don't stan her on Twitter or anything, but she is a good. I like her politics, but I think outside of that, she's a good candidate because she's from the Rust Belt. I mean, in 2018, she was an electoral juggernaut. She got like 60% of the vote in Minnesota, and they state that she won by like 25, and that was a state that Hillary Clinton won by only 1% 2 years ago from 2018. So Klobuchar, great candidate. She might have a little trouble getting out black voters. She didn't do well with them in the primary, so I think she needed a black running mate like Abrams or Roy Cooper maybe. But she's great in the Rust Belt. I think she could really win Ohio and Iowa, to be completely honest. So I think she's one of the few Democrats who could still do that. So I think she'll go in the great tier, maybe good. But yeah, Andrew Yang is also a good candidate. He doesn't get a lot of media attention. For whatever reason, the media does not like him. But I'm going to say that Andrew Yang is not going to run in 2024. There's been a lot of talk about it. I think he's going to win the New York mayoral race. So for that reason, probably not going to talk about him too much, but he'd be a good candidate because he has Trumpian appeal. Now, we have two really bad candidates here in a row. We have Andrew Cuomo and Hillary Clinton. These are two New York Democrats who are really disliked by people. Obviously, Andrew Cuomo's really gone downhill since the nursing home scandal, and then a bunch of women have come forward saying that he sexually assaulted them, which obviously not good for that to happen to anyone. In politics, that's taken very seriously, especially by a voter base that has criticized Donald Trump for his treatment of women in the past. And there are a lot of people calling Cuomo to resign or be impeached. So he's not even very popular in his home state of New York, which is very blue. I think he'd be horrible for the general election. Now, Hillary Clinton, she has a lot of baggage, obviously, with her scandals. I don't think she has as much as Cuomo, but she still has a lot of baggage. And we saw her lose in 2016 to Trump, and I think she would lose again. Now, that's Oprah Winfrey, I'm pretty sure. I almost said Michelle Obama, but that's Oprah Winfrey, I believe. Yeah, I think. Hopefully I'm not wrong. I'm not going to rank her. I mean, she's a celebrity. People talk about Oprah for president. I do not think that's going to happen. But anyways, Gavin Newsom, he's the governor of my state. He's very average. I think he's, as someone who lives in California, he's not. He's more popular than Jerry Brown, but he's not very. He's not insanely popular. He's meh. He'll cruise to re-election in 2022. He's not going to be recalled. So he's very meh. I think that he could do well in the Rust Belt, but I don't see him getting the Sun Belt turnout he needs. Plus, he's kind of an establishment figure. I believe he's Nancy Pelosi's nephew, which says a lot. So I'll just put him in the average tier. He's very meh, I guess, as a Californian and as someone observing politics. J.B. Pritzker is also very meh. These are two safe blue state governors who don't have a ton of baggage. I mean, Newsom did have that one, I guess, minor scandal where he went and dined indoors without a mask. That really hurt him that was kind of dominating the press for a few weeks, but he's kind of recovered. He's got more popular over time because of his signing of the stimulus package that the California state legislature produced. He's also been taking, not really taking heat, more like getting praise for his distribution of coronavirus vaccines. So J.B. Pritzker, he is another blue state Democrat I mentioned. He's very, again, meh. He doesn't have any baggage, but he just doesn't have a ton of appeal anywhere. So he might win, might lose. Kind of, he's all right. Now this is actually, I think that's Eric. No, that's not Eric's fault. What was I saying? Wait, that's the. Okay, actually, I almost said Seth Moulton. That's Andy Beshear, who is a good candidate. He's the governor of Kentucky, who is a Democrat. Yes, you heard that right, for those of you who don't know. He is a blue dog Democrat who's the governor of Kentucky. He could have appeal to, I guess, ancestral Democrats and working class Dems, so he'll go in the good column, but he'd have to probably pick a running mate like Stacey Abrams, who could excite black voters in the South. Gretchen Whitmer's the governor of Michigan. I think she's also good. She's pretty popular right now. Like there's obviously mixed opinions on her, but I think that she's decently popular still, and she's from a swing state, so that helps her out too. Pete Buttigieg, he's pretty good too. He's kind of like Obama in that he has Rust Belt appeal. However, he does not have Sun Belt appeal because, for whatever reason, black voters they didn't come out for him in the primary. They didn't really like him. He didn't poll well with them, so he needed probably a black running mate like Stacey Abrams to excite these black voters in the South. But I think he'd do well in the Rust Belt, and for that reason, I think he'll go in the good column. Now moving on to our next guy, we've got Hakeem Jeffries. Jeffries is a congressman from New York. I think he'll just go average. He's not super well known. He's pretty well known, but he's not super well known. So I think he'll just go average. He has very mad appeal. He doesn't. He's not good or bad in the Sun Belt or the Rust Belt. Don't know enough about him. Naturally, do not know who this guy is. I'm gonna have to Google him. Okay, well apparently that's that's okay. I may be looking at this wrong, but apparently that's Harvey Weinstein. I don't even know why he's here. For obvious reasons, he'll go in the terrible column. He's a convicted sex offender, so I don't even know why he's here. But moving on to Jimmy Carter, he's technically eligible to run, but he was first elected in 1976. I think he's like in his 90s. He's an old guy. But I mean, I guess if he was 30 years younger, he would be able to do well. But I don't think Carter is definitely not going to run. Now, for Joe Kennedy, who had a kind of embarrassing loss to Ed Markey, I think he's below average. His last name doesn't help him. He's kind of an establishment creature. So for that reason, I'll put him in the below average tier. He's also from a safe state. Katie Porter's a good candidate. She's actually, I think she's average. She's well liked in her district, but I think that she'd be branded as a socialist, even though she's actually not as progressive as people think, based on her voting record. But yeah, now Elizabeth Warren, I think Warren actually, she has very populist policies. She is definitely a fighter for the middle class, but for whatever reason, people they think she's part of the establishment. Even though she's actually been in the Senate since 2012, she served only one full term, and she's a little bit into her second term. She was reelected in 2018. So people, I don't know why, but people think she's an establishment figure. I don't know why exactly, but for that, she'll go in the average. But I think that if people didn't think of her as an establishment figure, she could definitely go in the good column. Kamala Harris is also below average. She has no appeal to the Sun Belt, no appeal to the Rust Belt. And I think, honestly, she could go in terrible. But terrible, I think, is just a reserve for people who are old like Jimmy Carter, who are insanely polarizing like AOC, or Adam Schiff to a certain extent, and just people who have big scandals like Cuomo, Clinton, and Harvey Weinstein. Even though Harvey Weinstein shoved his own column, I don't even know why he's there. He should have his own below here, but whatever. And I feel bad putting all these other people there with him because he is a really bad guy. So yeah. Now moving on to this is Michelle Lujan Grisham, I think. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully I got that right. She's actually a good candidate. She comes from New Mexico. She's the governor of New Mexico, and I think that she could do really well with Hispanics. She did well with them in 2018. She won by like 20 points or something. Actually, I think she won like 58-42, I think. But yeah, so she won by 16, but pretty close to 20. She almost hit the 60 mark in New Mexico, which is impressive. So for that reason alone, her good performance in 2018, I think that she could do really well with Hispanics, and is a good candidate on paper. She just have to choose a Rust Belt running mate, like maybe someone like a Sherrod Brown or a Gary Peters or something like that. So yeah. Ro Khanna is average. He's he's not as well known. He actually does. I think he represents the wealthiest district in America, which I think could be used against him in middle America or the middle class voters. So I don't think that would help him out too much. Now Timmy Baldwin is also going to go in this great column. We're seeing a trend with Rust Belt women. Baldwin's more progressive than Klobuchar, but she's still a very good candidate because she's progressive. She has appealed to the Bernie bros. She has appealed to populist Republicans, people who voted for Trump but voted for Democrats in 2018. And I think for that, she's going to go in the great column. She's obviously a Democrat from Wisconsin, and she won by 13 2 years ago. So that bodes very, very well for her. I think she's a good candidate on paper, but she's not going to run, mostly because she is a senator from Wisconsin who the Democrats could potentially lose a key seat with her running for president. Okay, so I'm just going to take a chance here because I don't want to Google anything else. But I'm 99% sure this is Tony Evers, who's the governor of Wisconsin. Hopefully I'm not butchering that. If I am, I'm really sorry because I just can be talking about the wrong guy for a minute. But he's in between good and great. I think people in Wisconsin seem to like him. So I'll put him in the good column just to be a little less generous to him. I guess. But Tony Evers, he's pretty well liked in Wisconsin. He obviously was elected in a blue wave year. He actually beat out an incumbent. He stole the governor's mansion from Scott Walker. So I think he'll go in the good column for that because of his good performance in 2018 in a year that he was not expected to win. The polls had him up, but that was kind of like, I didn't do this in 2020, but in 2018 I did an upset gubernatorial prediction and an upset Senate prediction. We're not going to talk about what my upset Senate prediction was because it was really bad. But if you want to hear about my upset gubernatorial prediction in 2018, it was this guy. I thought that this race was honestly going to go to Evers narrowly, but most people had it going for Walker that I talked to. So just a fun little story there to wrap up this video. But Evers, good. So this is my Democratic primary tier for 2024. It's probably to me either there's a 70% chance it's Harris, there's a 30% chance it's Biden. So it didn't really mean anything, but you guys were requesting it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.